Hello everyone, I welcome you all to the study pointer. So today we will continue from where we have left in our previous lecture. So we have studied in our previous lecture that French Revolution mainly affected the political structure. Okay, but we find that in society all structures are interrelated. So the changes in one aspect is definitely going to have impact on other structures of society. So the effect of French Revolution can be seen in other structural aspect of society also. Okay, so the changes brought out by French Revolution created certain sort of contradictions in society, and it thus influenced the mind of thinkers of 18th and 19th century. Okay, so So, before French Revolution, we have also seen that enlightenment influenced the general intellectual orientation in society. People were enlightened to think differently. During the Dark Age period, people explain social realities based on their will. But after the Enlightenment, Renaissance, French Revolution, Industrial Revolution, Commercial Revolution, people intellectual orientation grew. Okay, they started to think social reality differently on the basis of reasoning, science. Okay, so enlightenment appears to the most appropriate point of departure in the study of origin of sociological theory for many regions. Okay, so next we will study the factors or changes in intellectual orientation leading to emergence of sociology. Okay, or factors that led thinkers think reality differently post enlightenment. Okay, or we can say intellectual influences affecting emergence of sociology. Okay, so basically there are six major factor or changes in the intellectual orientations which leads to the emergence of sociology. Okay, so the first one is scientific approach to the study of society. Okay, scientific approach to the study of society, which were mainly the positivists. So who were positivists? So positivists were those thinkers who used scientific approach to the study of society. In simple terms, you can understand that. Okay, so scientific approach to the study of society, this is the first factor or changes. uh, Briefly I will tell you all the six factor. Total there are six factor. Okay, the second factor is sociologists who were influenced by enlightenment upheld reason and rationality as a measure to judge the social realities around them. Okay, this is the second factor. Third, early thinkers believed that human beings are capable of attaining perfection by criticizing and changing social institutions. So this is the third factor. Fourth factor is philosophy of history, and the fifth one is biological theory of evolution, and the sixth one is survey of social conditions. So there are basically six factor or changes in the intellectual orientation which leads to the emergence of sociology. So we will start with the first factor, that is scientific approach to the study of society, how it influenced the thinking capability of thinkers of those time, which leads to change in their intellectual orientation and thus emergence of sociology. Okay, the scientific approach to the study of society. So enlightenment thinkers influenced early sociologists. Okay, we have also read about it. For example, Emile Durkheim. Okay, Emile Durkheim is a French sociologist. Okay, so he studied suicide. Okay, he studied suicide, and he found that suicide is a social fact, it is a social phenomena and not an individual phenomena. Because in common sense we think that suicide is an individual phenomena, but Emile Durkheim, the French sociologist, studied suicide and found that suicide is a social phenomena and not an individual phenomena. It is because he argued that suicide is influenced by external factors. He found that suicide was higher among Protestant. Okay, he found that suicide was higher among Protestant than Catholics. Okay, so his reasoning was that suicide was higher among Protestant than Catholics, and he gave substantial explanation of also that how suicide was higher among Protestant than Catholics, how suicide is a social fact. He explained it through his theory of suicide. Okay. Also, he found that there is individualistic orientation in Protestant more than Catholics. Catholics are more integrated in their group. So, the research of Emile Durkheim found that in Catholics there is high integration in their group, so there is less chances of suicide, and in Protestants there is less integration in their group, more chances of suicide. So, okay, through these analysis and reasoning he found that suicide is a social fact. So, this was a new way or scientific approach to the study of society. Okay, so these influenced early thinkers of that time how to approach social reality in a new different way. Okay, earlier people think that society is a individual phenomena. In our commonsensical phenomena, in our common sense we see that society is a individual phenomena. Okay, but he established that society is a social fact, and इसके अलावा और हम ये देख सकते हैं जैसे ओवर रेगुलेशन. ओके, जैसे कि स्लेव्स होते हैं. ओके, एंड लैक ऑफ रेगुलेशंस सच एज फार्मर्स के केस में. ओके, इन इंडिया वी सी दैट देयर आर आल्सो रीजंस फॉर सुसाइड. ओवर रेगुलेशन, lack of regulation, okay, over integration, lack of integration, these are the reasons for suicide according to Emile Durkheim. So Emile Durkheim basically gave causal, functional and comparative analysis. Okay, he gave causal, functional and comparative analysis of the suicide. Okay, why suicide happens. So in the start I have already used the term positivist, and I told you that those positivists are those thinkers who advocated for the application of natural sciences or positive sciences method for their sociological study. Positivist use scientific approach to the study of society. तो कभी अगर क्वेश्चन आ जाए कि who were positivists, तो आप इसको या आपको इंटरव्यू के दौरान पूछ लिया जाए कि who are called positivist, who were called positivists. So positivists were those thinkers who have a scientific outlook to the study of society. Positivists are thinkers who advocated for the application of natural science methods, positive science methods for the sociological studies. Okay. Next we will move on to our second factor. So sociologists influenced by enlightenment, renaissance, upheld reason and rationality as a tool or measure to judge the social reality. Okay, sociologists influenced by enlightenment, renaissance, upheld reason and rationality as a measure to judge the social reality. Social institutions, अब हमारे social realities में क्या क्या आता है? Social institutions, social interactions, okay, their suitability with human nature. Okay, so the early thinkers believed that human beings are essentially rational beings. human beings are essentially rational beings. Okay, the early thinkers believed that human beings are essentially rational beings and this rationality leads to freedom of thought and actions. Okay, मानव के पास सोचने की शक्ति होती है और इसके कारण से वो और हर चीज को रीजन करता है ऐसा क्यों है क्यों नहीं है. ओके, एंड ड्यू टू दिस कैपेबिलिटी इट लीड्स टू फ्रीडम ऑफ थॉट एंड एक्शन. ठीक है, सो एक हमारे थिंकर हैं मैक्स वेबर. ही इन्वेस्टिगेटेड द रेशनैलिटी ऑफ ह्यूमन बिहेवियर. सो ही फाउंड दैट कि different personality have different set of behavior. So he found that in bureaucrats there is a legal rational behavior, in pilots there is a value rational behavior, in priest there is traditional rational behavior, etc. among various other things. Okay, next एक हमारा word आया था rational. So what is rational? So in simple terms you understand that to find the reason for something is called as rational, or anything which involves meaning and end or meaning and orientation is called as rational. Okay, so what does rational means? Anything which involves meaning and orientation or anything which involves meaning and end, okay, is called as rational, to find the reason for something. Okay, next, so the next factor, third number, that the early thinkers believed that, okay, the early thinkers believed that human beings are capable of attaining perfection by criticizing and changing social institutions. Okay, so the early thinkers believed that human beings are capable of attaining perfection by criticizing and changing social institutions. So they argued that human can achieve greater degree of freedom, okay, which would enable them increasingly to actualize their creative powers. Okay, so एक हमारे थिंकर हैं enlightenment thinker, उनका नाम है हेगल. Okay, so the Hegel gave the thesis of dialectical idealism. Dialectical idealism, and it was propounded by Hegel. So enlightenment thinker Hegel gave the thesis of dialectical idealism. So what does dialectic means? So dialectic means dialogue. Okay, and in during dialogue there is a thesis, and this thesis criticizes the antithesis. Okay, so in simple terms you can say, such as there is a dialogue happening. Okay, a theory or a thesis is being put forward. Okay, so after some time this thesis will be criticized and an antithesis will be generated, and with the combination of thesis and antithesis synthesis is reached, okay, among the people through using dialogue, and change happen in society. Okay, this will continue till the attainment of perfect ideas. यानी thesis उसका criticism होगा, antithesis आएगा और दोनों मिलके एक synthesis होगा. फिर ये जो नया reality आया with the combination of thesis and antithesis, फिर उसका भी criticism आएगा, and this process continue होते रहेगा. ठीक है, till the attainment of perfect idea. There is always quest for perfection. Okay, ठीक है, जैसे आप अभी वर्क कर रहे हो, आपका इच्छा है और आगे बढ़ने के लिए, दैट्स व्हाई यू आर स्टडिंग. ओके, जब आप ज्वाइन कर लोगे फिर आपका और इच्छा होगा कि इससे अच्छा पोस्ट मिले, यू विल. सो देयर इज ऑलवेज क्वेस्ट फॉर परफेक्शन, देयर इज ऑलवेज क्वेस्ट फॉर इम्प्रूवमेंट. ओके, सो ह्यूमन बींग्स, ये थिंकर्स का आर्गुमेंट था, आर कैपेबल ऑफ अटेनिंग परफेक्शन बाय criticizing using dialogue, okay, and changing the social institutions. Okay, so changes also happen in the society टू अटेन द परफेक्शन। ओके, अब परफेक्शन कैसे आया, जिससे कार्ल मार्क्स का जो हमारा हिस्टोरिकल मेटेरियलिज्म है उसमें हम देखते हैं कि परफेक्शन कैसे आ रहा है। प्रिमिटिव स्टेज था, during the study of historical materials we will later study about it. Primitive stage, slave stage, feudal stage, capitalist stage, socialism, communism, ये कार्ल मार्क्स ने कहा था कि ह्यूमन बीइंग क्वेस्ट फॉर परफेक्शन। तो कार्ल मार्क्स जो थे वो इन्फ्लुएंस थे हीगल की थ्योरी से, डायलेक्टिकल आइडियलिज्म से, और उसी से रिलेटेड उन्होंने अपना एक थ्योरी दिया हिस्टोरिकल मेटेरियलिज्म का, ठीक है ना। ओके, वी विल स्टडी इट लेटर। ओके, so the next one is the philosophy of history. Okay, the philosophy of history. So the philosophy of history was applied, and the basic assumption of this philosophy was that society must have progressed through a series of stages from simple to complex. Okay, society must have progressed through a series of stages from simple to complex. On the philosophical side, there is a notion of development and progress, and on the scientific side this implied the concept of historical periods and social types. Okay, so the basic assumption of the philosophy of history was that society must have progressed through a series of stages from simple to complex. Okay, and on the philosophical side there is a notion of development and progress, whereas on scientific side this implied the concept of historical period and social type. Next, biological biological theories of evolution also influenced the earlier sociologists. Biological theories of evolution, fifth factor we are studying, biological theories of evolution influenced early sociologists. Okay, so it tended early sociologists like Herbert Spencer, Emile Durkheim to widely consider society as an organism. Okay, and the way organism has evolved from simple to complex because of the survivalist need of the organism. Similarly, they argued that the society too has evolved from simple to complex because of the survivalist functionalist need. Okay, so उनका बेसिकली रीजनिंग क्या था, जैसे ऑर्गेनिज्म का इवोल्यूशन होता है बिकॉज ऑफ सर्वाइवलिस्ट नीड, उसी तरह सोसाइटी का भी एवोल्यूशन होता है बिकॉज ऑफ इट इज सर्वाइवलिस्ट फंक्शनलिस्ट नीड। और इनका रीजनिंग वैलिड भी है काफी हद तक। ओके, फाइन। नेक्स्ट हम जैसे इमाइल डर्किम जो हमारे सोशोलॉजिस्ट हैं उन्होंने इसको समझाया भी है। जैसे आप देखोगे ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी में, जैसे उन्होंने इमाइल डर्किम ने डिवीजन और लेबर का जो फिलॉसफी दिया, सिद्धांत दिया, एनालिसिस दिया अपना, जो उनका जो स्टडी था डिवीजन और लेबर का, उसमें उन्होंने समझाया कि जैसे ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी है वहाँ पे वॉल्यूम ऑफ पॉपुलेशन लो था, ठीक है, यानी वॉल्यूम डेंसिटी लो था, एक्चुअल डेंसिटी ऑफ पॉपुलेशन वो भी लो था यानी मेटेरियल डेंसिटी, एंड मोरल डेंसिटी भी लो था यानी इंटरेक्शन अमंग पीपल। सो बट विथ टाइम वॉल्यूम ऑफ पॉपुलेशन इंक्रीजेज, यानी वॉल्यूम डेंसिटी इंक्रीजेज, मेटेरियल डेंसिटी इंक्रीजेज, moral density increases. Okay, interaction among people increases, so conflict started and thus division of labor was required. So in simple societies there is work without specialization, simple division of labor, and in मॉडर्न सोसाइटी देयर इज कम्प्लेक्स डिवीजन ऑफ लेबर विद स्पेशलाइजेशन। तो हमने देखा सोसाइटी इवॉल्व की ट्रेडिशनल सोसाइटी से मॉडर्न सोसाइटी की। Okay, so there is also change in the division of labor from simple to complex, and it is because of the survivalist need. Okay, next हमारा है सर्वे ऑफ सोशल कंडीशंस। so so the survey so the social survey using scientific methods to understand the various social phenomena such as poverty, inequalities were done to analyze how these social fact and how and why these social fact exist in society. So, social surveys were done to understand the social realities. Okay. So, thank you everyone, and the chapter is here finished. Okay.